racing in its purest form. Real cars on real roads, real fast. It's the Michelin Canadian Rally Championship on TSN. And our series coverage continues with round 6, the Rallye Charlevoix from Pointe-au-Pic and the famous Manoir Richelieu in Quebec's beautiful Charlevoix region. And it's brought to you in part by Michelin. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. Hello again, everyone. Vic Rutter here with rally expert Paul Chater as we join this event really in progress.
Right, Vic. Here are Barry and Sandra Latreille in car number 2, the Eagle Talon, ready to take the start. The organizers have expanded the rally this year into a 2-day event. We actually ran 7 stages last night from Bay St. Paul, and we're picking up our coverage on the morning of day 2. The Latreilles were fast, but inconsistent last night, posting 2 outright fastest times on short stages, but they were a full minute off the pace when it really counted on the long 35-kilometer stage. They're in 5th place right now.
Wow.
Yeah, she called that jump for him.
This is always one of the most scenic rallies in the Michelin Canadian Rally Championship, and it's partly due to the fact that they're in towns, the people are right nearby.
Difficult for the rally drivers, however, on tire choice. They're not used to running on asphalt. Just as we said that. Overcooked it into the corner. Coming up the hill, judged the corner perhaps to be a little faster than it really was. Apexed early and ran off the road, but he did it, as you can see there, by the finish line.
He crosses in 1:13. Another look.
Up the hill, very fast. The car gets light over the crest and just skates right off to the side.
Get my board? I don't even know where the board's right here. Right here.
Remarkably calm, considering there is a telephone pole and a wire holding up that pole right in front of them.
They managed to miss it. All the bushes, the rocks, everything else.
The number 3, Tom and Trish McGeer, their Subaru Impreza, starting the day in 2nd place, 12 seconds behind the Sprongles Audi. We should mention as well that a couple of the main contenders were eliminated on day 1. The championship leader, Carl Merrill, their Ford Escort, out with a blown engine, and Sylvain Vincent in a Eagle Talon, also out with engine failure.
And this is Trish McGeer's first rally back in the co-driver's seat after giving birth to their daughter. They're 2-time national champions. That's Tom and Trish, not Trish and their daughter. And they live in Georgetown, Ontario, and Tom spends most of his time crossing the Pacific, but at the controls of a 747.
Yeah, no, make a note here. He's not doing this on autopilot.
The stage here is Les Falaises in the town of La Malbaie, 2 kilometers long, lined with spectators. Paved stages are fairly unique in North American rallies. Most rallies, as you know, happen far from towns and in cities, but in Quebec, they love rallying, and whole towns close down while the cars race through.
This must be exciting for them as well, because it gives them that sense of what road racers take. And as he finds this apex, loses a little bit at the back end, but comes through. First place for the moment at 1:03 for Tom and Trish McGeer. The next starter, number 6, Yves Barbe and Béja Lacroix, their Eagle Talon TSI. Now, Friday night, they were flying. Yves chose a pace that would get him to the finish line, and he stands 7th right now.
Here he is now back on day 2, starting the stage. They've got a new sponsor on this car, too, Vic, Fruit of the Loom.
Which is really nice to see new sponsorship in the series, because the rally is growing across this country.
And generally, only automotive-related sponsors. This is kind of a first.
Barb from Laval, Quebec. Now, do they enjoy this kind of thing? I mean, we assume rallying is always done on dirt roads. You think they enjoy this aspect of it?
Sure.
Oh, my. Yeah. Now, that will change the Fruit of the Looms. That will make you want to run for a new pair.
It also compacts your spine a little bit. This speed landing on asphalt. It's fun. You wouldn't want a whole rally of tarmac stages, but they certainly are fun at the beginning of the event.
Oh, looking through the apex, through the finish line in 59 seconds. An all-time record for this special stage. An average of 121 kilometers per hour.
And here's Calgary's Jorge Dascalis, 4th quickest despite locking the brakes.
You know, sometimes, Paul, it's not pretty, but these drivers manage to get the job done.
Luckiest telephone pole in Quebec.
the other way, that's it. Barb is the fastest so far. When we come back, the bouncing checks, Frank and Dan Sprongel. The Michelin Rallye Auto Charlevoix on TSN. Spectacular scenery. Welcome back to La Malbaie, the Rallye Auto Charlevoix. Vic Roder with Paul Chater. Great crowds as always. As on the starting line, Jonathan Nichols, Mike Koch from Baderfay near Montreal. Group 2 Volkswagen Golf.
Front wheel drive, watch him here. He's pumping the clutch, trying to get the pressure up. He's got a hydraulic clutch in the GTI, but it's leaking, and he wasn't sure he'd be able to get off the start line. Now, would you think a few tap dancing lessons would help you drive a car fast? Watch this. 2 feet, 3 pedals. He's going to use all 3 pedals at the same time. He is using occasionally the clutch to shift up. He's using it to shift down there as he a classic heel and toe downshift going into the turn. Foot flat on the throttle. He uses the clutch up a gear. Rests his foot under the pedal to anchor it. Over the hill, off the throttle so that he doesn't over-rev the engine, and then right back down on the throttle again. And he's using now the brake to steer the car. Watch him stab it with his left foot going into a turn. It settles the car down, kicks the tail out a little, allows him to keep the revs up at the same time by keeping his right foot down on the throttle.
Absolutely. Brilliant. You talk about it. It's like Mr. Bojangles here. A little wobbly there.
Shifts up a gear. Oh, this tough turn again. Overcooked it going in. Buried the brake and the clutch. The car has stalled. He's knocked down some of those wires. The spectators are running.
Well, it's a miracle it hasn't been hit before, so it's Jonathan Nichols and Mike Koch doing it right here.
There, see, he just upshifted there to get some more speed after bobbling the turn down there a little bit more, and he just overcooked it going into the corner.
Here are your rally leaders by 12 seconds after day 1, the number 26, sponsored by Castrol and the Audi dealers. Now, they started well last night with a win on the very first stage with their arch rival, Carl Merrill, an early retirement. This looked like a golden opportunity to take the lead in the championship points race. But then they had troubles of their own. Their turbo pop-off valve literally did pop off, leaving a gaping hole and no turbo pressure.
There was a mad thrash at the service as they tried to lash up a repair involving tie strips and Velcro and lots of duct tape. They were the last to leave the service area, but they managed to get to the next stage without a penalty. The patch held and the turbo's been replaced, and the Sprongos are back in the lead.
Which brings us to the second day and Les Falaise. Now, you make an interesting point, is that the Sprongos really do. Frank drives this car as if he was a road racer.
Watch him go through the turns. He's taking typical racing lines through the corners. He's driving. He's not throwing the tail around. He is actually driving it quite conservatively, which is what you need to do on pavement. And a beautiful jump over that hill. We're going to have another look at this. Off the ground. Now watch. Very subtly, 1, 2, 3, 4 tires. He landed them at all different times. It helps to absorb some of the shock. It's like a cat landing on all fours.
You can hear the chirping of the turbo. Boy, does he ever hit that apex. Brilliantly, 57 seconds, the fastest ever. Wow. After 6 short pavement stages, the teams arrived in Claremont, where the mechanics are waiting for service.
Superficial damage to Jonathan Nichols' car after hitting the guy wire for the telephone pole. The trays are out with a failed front differential, and Frank Sprongel is leading by 27 seconds.
And remember now, they're changing their tires from their intermediate racing slicks to the gravel tires. Here's a look at your leaderboard. The Latrays are out, and the Sprongels are leading. Wanted rough, we're going to give you rough. In-car with Yves Barb, as there are some wonderful crowds here on this stage they call Les Rallye.
It's a bit intimidating when people are lining the road like this. However, he has bigger problems to worry about. Transmission failed. Engine's nice and strong, but he's got a box full of neutrals.
And just like that. And that's probably due to the pounding of this road?
It could very well be. He's backing it up now to put it in a safe position. Here we are with the Sprongels Audi. A view of this very rough road. It went from a fast gravel stage to basically a snowmobile trail through the woods that they have never used before. And the cars are going to take one huge beating.
Now, one of the key components in this, remember they were on the road and they almost had what they called intermediate racing tires. Now they've chosen different tires.
He's gone in this choice on the Audi to Michelin SB85 gravel tires. The compound was chosen because the weather's cool and these stages are nearly 60 kilometers long and very rough. It's a hard rubber compound with an aggressive tread pattern, and they won't see their service crews for a long time, and they can't afford a puncture this far from a service. Many of the crews are carrying 2 spares, but the Sprongles are confident their tires are going to hold up.
Now, the first 24 kilometers are twisty logging type roads, but then the next 32K, there aren't meant for cars at all. As Paul suggests, they are basically snowmobile trails. And it's the first time ever that they will have seen this.
We talk about the cars taking a beating on a road like this, but the 2 guys in the car are also taking an awful beating, even though they're well strapped down, that there's very little padding in their seats, and the pounding that the car takes just shudders all the way up through your spine and your shoulders and your neck.
And even out this far, as they negotiate the bridge, there are lots of spectators. But here still, reasonably wide. But now, as they look very relaxed, Frank and Dan Sprongle, it narrows down considerably. And I really don't think that the helicopter does the road very much justice, because there are baseball-sized rocks and boulders that they have to negotiate.
And the noise inside the car of those rocks pummeling it is unbelievable. Here are the gears now at the start of this stage in their Subaru.
Now, this is part of the logging road, and look at just the way Trish McGear's head bounces around here.
And this is the smooth part.
Now, by the same token, these cars are built for these conditions, aren't they?
Absolutely. And there is a theory, when the roads get really, really rough, as this stage will get, there's a theory that if you run faster, you can actually glide or bounce from bump to bump and rock to rock. And by going slower, you're actually making it much tougher on the car. But there again, there's a certain amount of bravery involved in doing that.
Now, look at this as it starts to narrow down. Still quick, but now, basically, it's slow and snowmobile.
Well, you can see how much suspension travel they're getting over these bumps, which is rare in a rally car. They're sprung so tightly, usually, that you don't see that kind of travel. But you can see this car's bouncing around.
The McGears starting second place behind the Sprongles, 27 seconds back as they started the stage. It's interesting to note the route book for the co-driver doesn't talk about cross intersections. It talks about rocks and ruts.
And look at this. Here we are inside the Golf GTI. Jonathan Nichols at the wheel. Mike Koch sitting beside him. And this 2-wheel drive VW is at a distinct disadvantage. You can see here they've been caught by the 4-wheel drive Eagle of Jean-Sébastien Besnier.
Absolutely blows by him.
Al Nichols let him go through, which was a good thing to do.
Now, just behind them, they're both being caught by Roger Royer and Pauline Thomas. And these men, Kelly Eriksson, Lennart Polander from Sweden in their Volvo.
Polander made a timing error last night. The rules are slightly different in Canada than in Sweden, and by clocking in too early at a checkpoint, the Volvo pair took a 5-minute penalty. Eriksson is doing his best to make up the time, but it's difficult. However, he's on a piece of road that this Volvo really enjoys.
In fact, Eriksson, who leads the Group 2 Championship, was able to cut off 3 minutes of Nichols' leading time.
Now, the difficult part, when you start to catch someone in a stage, you get dust and dirt, and you might start to concentrate.
Did you see the boulder there on the right? Did you see that? And look at this. As they come to the finish line of the stage, Besnier, Nichols, Royer, Eriksson all together. Sprongle's lead. We'll be back. We've completed 16 stages. Just 4 to go.
The first 2 12-kilometer stages are on dirt with a little pavement mixed in just for fun. Tire choice becomes important. The drivers, of course, will go with the compound and the tread pattern suitable for a gravel road, and then just go a little easier in their driving style on the pavement. And here they are. We're going into the nighttime. Try to bolt on a little daylight to the bumper.
Here are your current leaders, the Sprongles, by just over a minute over the McGears. This stage is called La Pax. It's 12.5 kilometers.
It's very fast, smooth gravel, goes into about 3 kilometers of paved road and then back to the gravel again. Ideal road for the Sprongles and their 4-wheel drive Audi.
What I find really remarkable about the way he drives, you made the comment earlier about when he was on pavement, he drives it like a road racer, but his driving technique really doesn't change that much from surface to surface, does it?
It doesn't. You watch him hang the tail out a little more. He's a master at a perfect four-wheel drift, full four-wheel drifts. Look at this, through the turn, over the crest of the hill, sliding, never lets up on the throttle. It's textbook rally driving.
Why do people always stand on the outside of court?
I have no idea. Maybe if they saw what was going on behind the wheel, they would move to the other side of the road.
Inside, he is fighting that like you wouldn't believe. As we take a look now at Pelle Eriksson, John Nichols, it's a VW, it's a Volvo on the bottom, and they're fighting for the national championship in Group 2.
Vic, this comparison says a lot about how diligently they've tried to keep the rules the same and try to keep the cars equal. You couldn't find two more different cars. On the top, a front-wheel drive VW Golf. On the bottom, a rear-wheel drive Volvo. Tremendous weight difference, differential in power, and into how that power is put down on the road. But look at this, going around these corners, they're almost dead even a minute into the event.
Now, where would the advantage be, say, for the VW as compared to the Volvo and Volvo compared to the VW?
Well, I think the VW probably has an advantage on the twistier sections. Jonathan Nichols, an old ice racer, he's used to stabbing the brake with his left foot and setting the car up for the tight turns. The Volvo is probably a bit more stable and somewhat faster on the long, flatter sections.
One of the things I notice as well, Paul, is that the cars will enter corners a little differently as well.
Well, it's the difference between front drive and rear drive, and also be in driving style. Eriksson is actually a truck driver in his native Sweden, and he says he drives the rally car like he would his truck. Now, we saw Jonathan Nichols, left foot braking, changing gears without using the clutch. Eriksson doesn't do that at all. He always uses the clutch. He only uses his right foot on the brake pedal. He's quite conservative, sort of old school driving, whereas Jonathan Nichols is dancing across the pedals with his feet. The fact that they're still dead even in two such different cars with two such different driving styles says a lot for rallying in this country.
Now, one thing about Eriksson, you'll notice that he's getting into the dust thrown up by Roger Royer, who is just ahead of him, so that might be a bit of a problem, as Nichols, though, hasn't encountered any of the dust so far.
It's a definite disadvantage, particularly this time of day when the light is so flat you don't see well anyway. You look at the difference in visibility through the windshields of the cars here. Nichols, good clean view. They're onto the pavement now, so it's a little bit better.
Pelle Eriksson, an interesting story. He is a Swede. He commutes for the Michelin Canadian Rally Championship. As Paul says, he's a truck driver by trade. Next year, he hopes to be back driving a 97 Volvo 940 for Volvo Canada. And how does he like it?
That's beautiful. It's the most fun thing I've done my whole life. And I hope I can do it next year. And I hope Volvo is satisfied with us. I think they are. They should be.
They should be indeed, Paul. He's leading the Group 2 championship.
And chasing this man actually on the road, Roger Royer, who is fourth overall, but leading the production GT class ahead of this driver, Jorge Dascalis, who's fifth in production GT.
From Calgary, Alberta, Jorge Dascalis. Now this is Marc Racine and Luc Pichet. They're currently leading in the 1750 class in their Honda.
Complete production car like this one, which is a Suzuki Swift, unfortunately.
Flashers are on.
And it's finished. That's Renault and Pinard. And unfortunately, you can't just get out of a rally quietly here. There are too many spectators.
Your leader continues to be the Sprongles. Will anybody catch them? We'll find out when we come back. Nighttime in the Charlevoix region and Saint-Irénée. Welcome back. As we get a up close and really personal view of the... You got to draw the line somewhere, don't you?
This is an amazing road. It is basically an asphalt downhill racing course. It's incredible. It's very steep, as you can see, quite fast. This is all third, fourth gear stuff, and it's almost vertical.
As we ride along with the McGears, who are currently in second place, some 3 minutes now behind your leader, Frank and Dan Sprongel. It is up and down, around and over.
There are buildings and trees and telephone poles and spectators and bridges and guardrail to worry about. It's quite a stage.
Now, to be fair, some of the edge has been taken off this rally in the Charlevoix because of the early retirements of the championship leader, Karl Merrill, Sylvain Vincent, who always hangs it on the edge, and of course, Yves Barr, he went out. So what you've got really now are people trying to survive till the end and pick up some valuable points.
Well, they're looking towards championship points in the end of the season.
Tom McGeer. Ellie Eriksson from Sweden, who drives the Volvo and is the current Group 2 championship leader.
Now, here's something else that drivers have to worry about. Of all the other hazards we mentioned, watch the number of camera flashes going off as they reflect off their helmets. It's a little distracting.
Roger Royer. Jorge Dascolas. Jonathan Nichols, who drives the VW GTI. Nobody was going to catch the Sprongles, who win the Rallye Auto Charlevoix by 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Very impressive.
Thank you very much. Oh, it was excellent. Constant spectators, beautiful roads. It was perfect.
Second place to the McGeers.
The Subaru Impreza getting faster every time out. This is their best finish so far this season.
And what a result for John Nichols in that VW. Third overall, first in Group 2, and so now the Group 2 championship with Ellie Eriksson is all tied and one rally to go.
Roger Royer, Pauline Thomas, their Eagle Talon, fourth overall, their best finish yet.
While in the 1750 class, congratulations to Marc Racine and Luc Bichet as they win in their Honda. The Michelin Canadian Rally Championship on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. Frank and Dan Sprongle win by nearly 4 minutes over the McGeers, with John Nichols a distant third. So just one rally to go. The final rally of the season, November 22nd. The Rally of the Tall Pines in Bancroft, Ontario. You'll see it on TSN December 6th. And for more information on the championship, write us, rally@tsn.ca. Now, on behalf of Paul Chater and our entire crew, I'm Vic Browder. The Michelin Canadian Rally Championship on TSN.